Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shravan Alva from the Department of ENT, KS Hegde Medical Academy. So today I'll be talking about the topic on the congenital malformation of larynx. So let's come on to the epidemiology. So here more than 80 to 85% of children less than 3 years with stridor have congenital anomalies. Out of these, 60 to 60% of these anomalies are in the larynx, and the next 20 to 25% are the anomalies of either a trachea or bronchi, and over 45% patients have more than one anomaly. So here the etiology is based on the different levels of the larynx. So the larynx is mainly divided into the supraglottic, the glottis as well as the subglottic region. So in the supraglottic region, some of the commonest congenital anomalies are mainly the laryngomalacia, the supraglottic web and the saccular cyst. And in the glottic region, the most commonest lesion is the vocal cord paralysis and the glottic web. And in the subglottic region, it is mainly the subglottic stenosis, which is the commonest congenital anomaly. So among all the lesions, these are some of the common congenital lesions, that is laryngomalacia, then the congenital vocal cord paralysis, then we have the congenital subglottic stenosis, and then very rarely you see the subglottic hemangioma. So let's talk about the laryngomalacia. Laryngomalacia, it is a congenital malformation of the larynx associated with excessive softening of the skeletal framework of the larynx, and the commonest cause of congenital stridor in children. So now coming on to the etiology of laryngomalacia, it may be mainly due to the alteration in the proteoglycan content, or it could be because of the poor nutrition, or it could be the mild development of cartilaginous structure, or even the neuromuscular control impairment, or laryngopharyngeal reflux disease. So, in the pathology of laryngomalacia, what we usually see is there will be excessive flabbiness of the laryngeal tissues, and there will be thinning of the laryngeal cartilages as well as loose edematous mucosa. So now coming on to the clinical features of laryngomalacia. Usually the child will develop stridor at or soon after birth. It is usually inspiratory, increases on exertion and diminished by rest or sleep. And when you examine, you usually see a tubular or an omega shaped epiglottis, and there will be a cruciate appearance of the laryngeal inlet. But one of the ideal character what you see is it usually disappears by 2 to 5 years, and the voice will be usually normal. And on indirect laryngoscopic examination, we usually see the prolapse of the laryngeal inlet during inspiration. So this is on indirect laryngoscopic examination. We usually see a omega shaped epiglottis. So this is again while doing an indirect laryngoscopic examination, we see this is the first one is during the expiration, and this next one is during the inspiration, where there will be the prolapse of the laryngeal inlet. So this is once again the same thing, which is mainly during inspiration there will be a prolapse of the laryngeal inlet, and this is mainly during expiration. So, for a proper management of laryngomalacia, first thing we need to have a proper history and examination. Then we need to have proper investigations like flexible laryngoscopy, direct laryngoscopy. So, once after it is confirmed, then we have to go ahead with the treatment. Like, first thing we need to do reassurance, then we need to observe, because usually the spontaneous resolution will be there by 2 years, and treat the cause, especially for the laryngopharyngeal reflux disease. And if there is severe stridor with difficulty of breathing, then obviously we have to go ahead with tracheostomy. So now coming on to the congenital vocal cord palsy. It is the second most common congenital laryngeal anomaly, more often bilateral. 50% it is associated with other conditions like CNS or CVS anomalies. It could be mainly because of birth trauma, maybe by breech or by forceps delivery. Usually, the child will present with a weak hoarse cry associated with inspiratory stridor. Some of the common investigations what we do is we usually do a chest x-ray, x-ray neck, and direct laryngoscopy. If there is a unilateral vocal cord palsy, there is no treatment required. Most cases resolve spontaneously. But if it is bilateral, we have to go ahead with tracheostomy, bar cord lateralization after 5 years of age. So next one, we come to the third most common congenital laryngeal anomaly, that is the congenital subglottic stenosis. Pathology, you usually see an abnormal submucosal thickness of the cricoid cartilage. The child will be present with dyspnea and stridor with respiratory infection, and child will also have a normal cry. Here, as you see in this picture, the subglottic diameter will be less than 4 millimeter. Some of the commonest investigations what we do is you usually do a X-ray neck or a CT scan. In the X-ray neck, it shows a smooth symmetrical narrowing of the subglottis region. And finally, if the patient is having severe stridor or difficulty in breathing, tracheostomy with subglottic dilatation or laryngotracheoplasty has to be done. Now we come on to the another congenital anomaly of larynx, that is a congenital hemangioma. Here it is mainly cavernous type. 50% have associated cutaneous hemangioma. It is usually a biphasic kind of stridor, increases with crying. The child will present with a normal voice. Symptoms appears between 3 to 6 months after birth. Investigations like direct laryngoscopy shows an asymmetrical red-purple mass in the subglottic region. The treatment for this is, if the child presents with severe stridor, tracheostomy along with observation has to be done. Then we have to start giving steroids like dexamethasone or prednisolone. Then later, if required, excision with carbon dioxide or KTP laser can be done. Now coming on to the other congenital anomalies, that is the congenital laryngeal web. It is an incomplete recanalization of the larynx, and 75% of the glottic webs seen in the anterior membranous, and it is usually a thick and fibrous. It may be asymptomatic or it could be associated with hoarseness and stridor. On indirect laryngoscopic examination, what we see is the white to pink membrane between the vocal cords with a sharp curved posterior border. In mild cases, usually no treatment is required. Symptomatic, if the patient is presenting with stridor, then we have to do a tracheostomy associated with, or we can do a excision by laryngo fissure, or we can do a microlaryngeal surgery. Now coming on to the rarest congenital anomalies, that is the laryngoesophageal cleft. It is mainly because of the failure of the fusion of the cricoid lamina. The patient will be presented with repeated aspiration and pneumonitis, and on investigations, lateral neck X-ray or even a flexical endoscopy for the diagnosis. Again, the treatment part is, if it is symptomatic with severe stridor, patient tracheostomy has to be done along with antibiotics to be given, maintain nutrition, or later it can be repaired surgically. Now let's come on to the last congenital anomaly of the larynx, that is the laryngocele. It is an air-filled dilatation of the laryngeal saccule, more with increased intralaryngeal pressure like straining, coughing, playing wind instruments. It could be an external laryngocele, internal laryngoscale, or maybe a combined. External laryngocele, usually we see a cystic mass lateral to the thyrohyoid membrane. As you see in the picture, it is very compressible, and usually the Boy's sign is positive. So we need to know what is Boy's signs. Boy's signs is a gurgling sound due to the noise of a splashing fluid accumulated in a large Zenker's diverticulum, can be heard on palpation. And now coming on to the internal laryngocele, there will be bulging of the aryepiglottic fold and the false chord. Symptoms will usually be hoarseness of voice associated with stridor, and on some of the commonest investigations what we do is a neck X-ray with Valsalva maneuver. The surgery, the treatment can be either an excision or maybe a marsupialization.